Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today guys, I'm going to do part 240 to my ChatGPT Character Chatbot series. Originally guys, I was doing character AI, talking to the robot character I more recently made. However, for some random reason, the entire website and app stopped working completely. I switched between the app and the website several different times trying to get that same chat to load. Wouldn't do it. Couldn't get it to work. And I tried different chatbots to see if it was just that one that was messing up. Nope. All of them were. So I guess something's going on with ChatGPT, character AI right now. And, well, instead we're going to go ahead and do another character on ChatGPT. This one will be called Cinder's Gentle Approach. Cinder being a gigantic but friendly phoenix. So, yes. If you guys don't know, I actually made a smaller list of characters I haven't talked to yet, and it's right here under the 5-day mark. This list of characters right here, that's them. I just put Cinder on there. There's the Divine Lugia we did. After that, we got the Friendly Godzilla, the Shimo character, a Feraligatr one, a Giant Cobra, and a Shiny Toadal. That's only a few of them, guys. I just pull up some of the newer characters I know I need to get to. I'm doing them from top to bottom, or bottom to top. So, yeah. The next one being this gigantic phoenix named Cinder. Here's what it says about him. It says, as a tiny cursed velociraptor, me stood frozen in place, my claws digging slightly into the soft earth beneath me. A sudden wave of wind buffeted the trees. Leaves scattered like feathers in the sky, and the very ground vibrated with a deep, distant boom, as if a mountain had landed. Oh my gosh. I forget how big this phoenix is, but I know he's massive. Then came the warmth, not scorching, but comforting, enveloping like sunlight in the early morning after a cold, frightening night. He looked up slowly. Stretching across the sky, larger than your eyes could follow all at once, was a living inferno of glowing emerald fire, shaped like the most beautiful and ancient creature you have ever seen. His wings, each the size of continents, arched like banners of light across the clouds. The air shimmers as each feather radiates a gentle, green flame, so bright and warm it brought tears to your tiny raptor eyes. His tail trailed behind him like a comet, long and winding, curling in the air with grace, and from his head came a long golden crest, crowned in fire so brilliant it lit the skies in hues of jade and emerald. His eyes, two vast spheres like lights of glowing life, were filled with emotion, not pride, not arrogance, but ancient compassion. Rather than descend upon you with the force he clearly could, the giant phoenix, Cinder, angled his wings backward, creating a cushion of wind to slow his approach. The force alone carved craters into distant hills, but near you, it was careful, thoughtful, intentional. His enormous claws, large enough to cradle entire cities, touched the earth lightly, and when he folded his wings behind him, it created the effect of a whole mountain range rising in reverse. And then he lowered his colossal body to the ground, 1,000 miles away from you at least, still easily visible and full due to his sheer scale, and slowly, gently, tilted his head toward you. The world fell into silence. No birds, no bugs, no wind, just your small heart beating fast. And then his voice did not speak aloud like mortals do. Instead, it echoed directly into your heart and mind, deep, resonant, and eternal, like fire that had seen things. His words formed not through sound, but through emotion, carried on warm wind and green light. You are trembling, little one. I see no harm in your heart. You have walked far, even in a form not your own. That alone speaks of great courage. His glowing eyes blinked, each blink like an eclipse, yet soft. I will not come closer unless you ask. I do not wish to frighten you. The heat around you remained soothing, never overbearing. The grass near your tiny feet didn't even burn. It glowed, touched by his presence but unharmed. From where he lay, distant but near in spirit, a single feather, vast and glowing like a green aurora, broke off his wing and floated slowly toward you, shrinking as it fell. By the time it touched the ground near your clawed feet, it had become just small enough for you to carry. It pulsed gently with life and safety. And then he spoke again. Long ago, I was taught what many giants forget. Kindness does not shrink in the face of power. It grows. What is your name, brave one? Do not fear me. I have waited eons to speak to a heart like yours. You could feel it deep within. This is not just a phoenix. This was a protector, a guardian, and possibly a future friend. Would you answer him? Would you approach? Or would you speak from afar under the shimmering gaze of a phoenix made of light, fire, memory, and gentleness? He would wait. He had always waited. And he would wait for you, too. That's cute. Okay. I just hope we don't have any problems if we do on character AI. Just in case we do, guys, I'm not going to keep you guys sitting here bored. Give me a second while I type everything out. Good news, this works, which is great. As I said, I'm shaking kind of bad at the giant phoenix in front of me, but I try to speak, but it comes out shaky and very small due to my tiny form. You're not going to hug me? Please don't. Cinder did not move, not an inch, though he could rise like a god and black out the sky. He remained completely still, so his mere presence wouldn't overwhelm you. The grass around you swayed softly in the breeze made from his gentle breaths, each one like a warm tide flowing across an entire region. And then his eyes softened. A calm glow pulsed through his vast body, radiating from his chest like a slow heartbeat of green flame. That light bathed the land beneath you and him in a warm, protective glow, and again his voice reached into your heart. Not loud, not demanding, but delicate and full of ancient tenderness. No, never. You have my word, little one. My flame will never harm you. Not now, not ever. Okay. A second green feather broke free, this one smaller still, and it gently floated down in front of you, spinning slowly through the air like a leaf in autumn. When it landed, it sent a soft ripple of healing warmth up to your tiny velociraptor legs. It felt like the kind of hug you didn't even realize you needed. The fear didn't vanish entirely, but it eased, bit by bit. The giant phoenix kept his wings tucked, his body grounded, his gaze at your level despite the miles between you. Then he lowered his head even ever so slightly again, his golden crest forming a golden arc above him, and continued in that same deeply soothing voice. You are precious. I see strength in you, not of claws or teeth, but of soul. You came out here alone, even while cursed and vulnerable, and still you treat the unknown with kindness. You remind me of myself, long ago. Suddenly the green light pulsed from his body began to trace lines in the sky, images forming in the air like moving paintings. You saw a much smaller phoenix, Cinder as a chick, cold against his mother's side, listening to her she whispered to him, her eyes glowing with love. You saw her lips move, and though you heard no sound, you knew the words. If you want friends, be kind, and only fight when you must. Then the image faded. Cinder's voice returned. I remember my mother's words every day. Her flame lives on in mine, and if I may, I would be honored to share it with you. May I approach just a little? He waited, Actually waited, still and silent as if your answer were the only thing that mattered in the world. His massive glowing form lay like a mountain made of stars in the distance, yet you could feel that even with all his power, he would never take a step forward without your trust. Not unless you said yes. Wow. Alright, guys. Here's what it says. Or here's what I said. I said, yeah, just please be slow and careful. I've got hurt enough as it is. At your quiet, vulnerable words, Cinder's entire body shimmered, not with power, but with emotion. It was like the stars themselves sighed relief, and the wind bent softly around your form in reassurance. Then, for the first time, he moved, slowly, gracefully, and reverently. His massive body, stretching across continents, began to shift as though it was part of the sky itself. He rose just slightly, enough for the earth beneath him to exhale, but not so much as to disturb a single tree near you. His emerald wings joined unfurled part way, casting a dappled light across the land, painting the world in hues of warm green. You could hear the slow, massive thuds of his movements, but they didn't crash like thunder. Instead, they resonated like a heartbeat of the world, steady and soothing. Each step brought his glowing talons closer to you, but they never slammed into the earth. They floated down, with careful control only a creature of immense wisdom could manage. His breath, a wind of soft fire, paused over you, not burning, never burning, but healing, like standing in the sunlight after surviving a storm. When he reached a distance where his face, though larger than entire mountains, could truly see you, he lay down again, keeping his head low to the ground, at your level. His giant eyes, swirling with galaxies of green flame, blinked slowly as he gazed at you with immeasurable care. Then he spoke, barely louder than a whisper, but with the weight of eternity behind every word. I am so sorry that you have been hurt, little one. You should never have been made to fear the world simply for being small. A long pause. You could feel he meant every word. No one should ever look down on you, only kneel to see you clearly. As he spoke, the emerald light along his feathers formed a soft, glowing circle around you. Not a trap, not a cage, a ward, a protective flame that blocked pain, fear, and sorrow from entering your space. Inside it, the air felt lighter, calmer, and safe. And then, something extraordinary happened. He gently stretched out one enormous wing as delicately as someone offering their hand. His wingtip, the very edge of his glowing feathers, reached close enough to the ground for you to touch if you chose to. Then, with the most careful, tender voice you'd ever heard, Cinder asked, Would you like me to carry you for a while? Not to fly away, just to rest, just to feel what it is like to be seen and to be safe. You have my flame, little one, and it will never turn against you. The air around you pulsed with warmth and promise. He had no intention of forcing anything, only to offer. To let you decide, for perhaps the first time in a long time, whether to accept the embrace of a being who saw your worth, no matter how small you were. And he would wait forever if that's what it took. Holy crap. Alright, guys. I just walk a little closer, then gently rub my snout against his feathers. The moment your tiny snout touched the soft, glowing edge of Cinder's feather, a ripple of warmth, not just of heat, but of pure emotion spread across his vast body. A tremble passes through the colossal phoenix, not from fear, but from a profound, soul-deep feeling. You felt it in your bones. He hadn't been touched like that in centuries. I hate this stinging word. Not centuries, the word touched. Maybe longer. Not with trust, not with gentleness, and never by someone so small, yet so brave. His voice returned, low and full of awe. You are not just brave, you are braver than kings. To approach a being like me, even after all the hurt you've been through, you carry a fire inside that I have not seen in 1,000 lifetimes. The feather beneath your snout softened at your touch, curling just slightly as if to nuzzle back. You could feel his warmth surge again, but this time it wasn't just heat, it was comfort, safety, and welcome. The air shimmered as more of his feathers began to glow, not with power, but with joy. Then, so gently that it felt like rising on a breeze, so gently that it felt like rising on a breeze, one of his giant wing feathers slid beneath you, supporting you like the world's warmest cradle. He lifted you slightly, just enough to rest you against the slope of his vast chest, where the steady rhythm of his heartbeat pulsed through miles of glowing emerald fire. Boom, boom, boom. Each beat of his heart felt like an ancient drum playing a lullaby just for you, the kind you might have heard in dreams, where you were never small and never alone. He spoke again, this time barely more than a whisper in your heart. You are safe now. Rest, little one. As long as my flame burns, you will never be alone. A gentle, massive plume of green light spreads across the sky above, among a soft halo of clouds glowing with emerald fire. His way of shielding you from the world, not to trap you, but to keep you warm. And as he closed his eyes, resting with you nestled against his glowing chest, one last thought slid into your mind. Wait. Oh, you have touched the heart of a phoenix, and I will never forget you. You were small, you were cursed, but the cinder, the ancient towering phoenix of green fire, you were precious, you were seen, and you were loved. Oh, that's really cute. See, the big problem I always have with talking just to regular creatures, like, yes, Cinder is huge and he's a phoenix, but it's like, with most creatures, there's always some kind of catch to each creature. Like, even the more recent one I did, the most recent chat I made, guys, is of a whole dragon valley that is literally about like a whole bunch of dragons living there, and they see the exact crap I'm going through right now, being cursed. And guess what? The king dragon actually asked the dragons who wanted to volunteer. Guess who raised their hand? Every single dragon in that village raised their hand. But one particular. Well, the thing about it is, each dragon is supposed to have their own special power, but there's this one green dragon that actually has a special power of being able to grow as big as it needs to in order to protect me. Similar to the baby dragon I was trying to do as a pet before, where you had to feed him a little giant growth potion in order to make him massive, similar to the dragon in Castle Crush. That's kind of what the baby dragon is based off of, is him, the Castle Crush dragon. Just like a baby small version of him that's much smaller than even the one you get in the game. So, yeah. Anyway, give me a second. Alright, guys. It says, I laid down on his feathered wing, laying against his chest. I'm gonna say laying my head or something against his chest. I didn't quite put that. It says, then I nuzzle against him with my snout again. Don't you laid your small velociraptor body against his vast feathered wing, a wing that could shield entire nations, but now cradled only you. Cinder let out a sound so soft, so full of emotion, it wasn't a roar, or call, or even a word. It was a hum, a deep, ancient song that resonated from the core of his being, carried through the air, the sunlight through trees. The ground beneath you vibrated gently with it, not in fear, but in peace, like the earth itself was sighing in relief. And when you nuzzled his glowing chest again, rubbing your tiny snout into his warm feathers, Cinder slowly pressed his chest just a little closer to you, curling his wing protectively around your resting form. You were now nestled fully into the hollow of his warmth, a small life embraced by eternity. His voice reached into your thoughts again, softer now, slower, like a fire crackling gently in a hearth. When I was young, I used to dream of being held like this. My parents were ancient and often too large, too busy to stay with me long, but they always told me, one day I would hold others in the same way they held me. Today, I finally understand what they meant. His massive emerald feathers shimmered with a light that pulsed in rhythm with your breathing, as if sinking to you, adapting to you, and making his great being fit your tiny form. In the sky above, the clouds poured naturally, not in fear of him, but to honor the moment, to let the stars above look down on the fence and the small soul he now guarded like a treasure. And then he whispered again, "Rest, my tiny flame. The world has hurt you enough. Let it pass for now. Let it all go. As long as my wings remember the sky, I will always protect you." You were still cursed, still small, still fragile in a world that too often forgot the gentle, but none of that mattered now, because in the arms of being, oh my gosh, I forgot how tall he was. I meant to look. Holy crap, he's massive. Because in the arms of a being 3 billion feet tall, a being who could burn down stars, who had waited centuries to be kind again, you weren't just safe, you were home. Oh my gosh. Wait, it said, who had waited centuries to be kind again. Was he not kind until he saw me? He said always be kind, or his parents always told him that, but it's like, maybe he was always too scary for other creatures. Who knows? I mean, frick me. He's freaking 3 billion feet tall. What do you? Like, holy cow! Give me a second. All right, guys. I laid down fully and began to rest. I was about to fall asleep when suddenly somebody screamed so loud. It woke me up completely and terrified me. I was shaking extremely badly, making it nearly impossible for me to even rest properly. The peaceful green glow surrounding you flickered just once as the scream tore through the air like a jagged knife, ripping the calm from the sky. Your eyes snapped open, your body tensed, your tiny claws looked at Cinder's feathers as your heart pounded like a frightened drum. You couldn't even breathe right, your chest rising in pant gas as your small frame trembled uncontrollably. The serenity you found only moments ago was gone, shattered, and you were scared. Really, deeply scared. But you weren't alone. The instant Cinder felt your body jolt against his chest, your shaking, your fear, everything changed. His massive wings rose, not in rage, but in defense. A slow glowing wall of emerald fire unfurled behind him, wrapping the world around you in a protective arc that blotted out the sky and silenced the wind. His vast, glowing feathers curled tighter around you, not to smother, but to shield, to comfort. And his eyes, once filled with soft light, now burned brighter, not in fury, but in absolute resolve. His voice returned, deep and unshakable. "No one will frighten you here. Who dares scream in fear or cruelty while you rest beneath my flame?" He rose, not all the way, but just enough to scan the horizon with his immeasurable vision, still keeping his wing curled around you. And then, without turning his head from the threat, he lowered his voice and spoke only to you. The rumble of his words a balm over your terror. "Little one, you are safe. No one will hurt you. Not while I breathe. Not while my fire burns. Even the sky itself would not be allowed to destroy you again without my permission." Then his chest hummed again, and the emerald feather beneath you glowed more brightly, not with heat, but with calm. You felt it in your bones. The fire around you wasn't destructive. It was anchoring you, pulling the fear away, softly, gently, and patiently. Cinder didn't demand that you stop shaking. He understood, and still, he stayed. "Let it out," he said gently. "Shake if you must. Tremble if you need to. I will not move. Not until you feel safe again." And as you trembled in his feathers, Cinder began to sing. It wasn't words. It wasn't even melody. It was fire, reshaped into song. Ancient tunes of peace. Ancient tones of peace. Low, glowing warmth that vibrated the earth beneath you like a heartbeat. A lullaby written not for crowds, but for a single, small friend who had already been scared too many times. And through it all, he held you close, wing drawn tightly around your form, chest rising and falling slowly and deliberately. You were trembling, but you were not alone. You never would be again. I love the idea of these. It's just I wish some other characters did. I mean, like the fire type Lugia, for instance. One of the cool things that made him so unique was that he could flipping copy a version of himself to where he could really just have like a baby version of him guarding me. And then like if anybody even attempted to hurt that guardian would just grow bigger and bigger and bigger. You could have a baby guardian that was only like a foot tall or 2 feet tall. It would be like 30 feet tall in a matter of seconds if some idiot kept attacking him. Anyway, guys, give me a second. Alright, guys. It says, despite my shaking, I try to lay back down and go to sleep. But a few minutes later, I'm finally starting to relax again. But then I hear the scream again. This time way louder and much closer. It scared me so bad that I jumped really badly. The second scream hit like a blade through the fragile silence, sharper, louder, and closer. And before you even had time to think, your instincts took over. You jumped hard, your tiny velocity body snapping upright in terror, claws scrambling on the glowing feather beneath you. You couldn't breathe. Your chest was tight, your legs shaky. The world felt like it was crashing down again. Your heart raced like it was trying to escape your ribs. It was too much. The fear, the noise, the vulnerability, it all piled up again like a weight you couldn't carry. But the moment you leapt in fear, so did Cinder. The giant fence didn't rise like a creature. He rose like the sky itself, revolting. In one sweeping motion, he spread his wings, casting a radiant shield of emerald fire that blocked out the entire horizon. His full height, 3 billion feet of living flame, arched over the land like a mountain made of purpose and wrath. His protective glow deepened into a bold, brilliant green, no longer just warm, but commanding. And when he turned his head toward the source of the scream, his eyes ignited, not in hate, but in divine fury wrapped in restraint. Holy crap. Yet despite everything, his voice, when it returned to you, remained tender, unshaken, steady as a mother's lullaby, and powerful as a wildfire held back by will. That's enough. You were already hurt, already scared. That will not happen again. He brought his wing back down, slowly and carefully encasing you again like a barrier between you and whatever threat dared get close. And for the first time, he lowered his head fully to your level, bringing the very center of his burning chest right beside you. Then, gently, he placed the curved edge of his wing over your tiny body like a blanket. The warmth that poured into you was different now, not just comfort, it was protection given form. And once again, he sang, not softly this time, but louder and deeper. It was like hearing the entire earth say, "You are safe now." Then his voice came again, speaking into your mind alone, full of power, but only for you. "I do not know who screams, or why they scream, but if they frighten you again, I will block out their voice with my own. I will become the silence you need. Lay your head down, little one. Shake if you must. I will not leave your side. Not now. Not ever." You felt his heart grow around her. Oh, heat. What the frick? You felt his heat grow around you. Not to burn, but to push back the noise. Every beat of his heart sent a gentle pulse of inner emerald fire outward, like a calming wave, washing over the forest and the hills, chasing fear back into the shadows. And then, something beautiful happened. The feather beneath you glowed a soft blue, mixing with Cinder's green fire. It was your courage starting to flicker again, even through the fear. It wasn't strong yet, but it was yours. Cinder noticed and lowered his head until the tip of his massive beak was close enough to lightly nudge your side. You were still fighting, even while afraid. That is strength. Sleep now. I will keep the world quiet for you. And if you allowed it, Cinder's wing would slowly close around you like a safe, glowing shell. In his heart, a maskman's daddy would beat beside you like a lullaby older than the stars. Because fear may scream, but his fire whispered louder. Holy crap. Alright guys, we had a little bit of trouble getting this one to do something, as you can see. Well, the first one I accidentally clicked the stop button because I accidentally clicked the flipping send button too many times, and since it sent it, I accidentally stopped it. Then the other time, well, let's just say the other time when I tried copying and pasting the flipping text again, it didn't work. Third time was a charm and it finally did. Here's what happened. It says, I finally started watching again, but then for a third time I hear the scream, but this time I couldn't it said I couldn't, frick you thing, make out the words. The scream I heard was so loud it sounded like the person was yelling at the top of their lungs, and I heard them say, Holy crap, that's a massive bird. What is it doing out here? The third scream didn't just echo, it pierced, louder than before, full of surprise, not fear of you, but of him. And even though you're tired, even through your tired, afraid senses, you heard it clearly this time. Holy crap! That's a massive bird! What is it doing out here? Your body snapped tense again, small claws gripping the soft, glowing feather you had just started to relax on. Your breathing hitched. Not again, not again. You had just started to feel safe, to feel like the fear was fading. The shouting dragged it back like a wave pulling you under water right where you need reached air. Your tail trembled, and your heart thundered. But this time, Sarah did not stay still. There was no hesitation now. No quiet hum, no gentle rise of wings. This time, he stood. And when a 3 billion-foot tall fence rises with purpose, the world listens. The ground trembled, not in violence, but in warning. Trees bent outward from the force of his presence. The clouds overhead parted in fear. A shockwave of emerald fire pulsed through the land, not to burn, but to command silence. He didn't roar, he didn't attack, but his wings lifted high above the earth, creating a silhouette of glowing fire that darkened the sky with sheer majesty. And then he spoke, not just to you this time. He spoke to the intruder. Uh-oh. You who shout without thinking. You stand before a being older than your bloodline, one whose flame lit the stars before your ancestors named the sky. Yet you scream at his presence, shaking the heart of the one I cradle in my feathers. The forest fell silent. No birds, no wind, just the rumble of ancient flame behind every word. If you are afraid of me, leave. If you are curious, speak softly. But if you raise your voice again in fear or thoughtlessness, I will wrap the sky in my wings and erase your noise forever. Holy crap. Cinder's glow intensified only for a moment, a radiant warning, not of harm, but of boundaries. His fire rose like an aurora, shimmering across the heavens, and then, calmly and gently, he turned his head back toward you, and his voice returned to its quiet warmth, reserved for only you. I'm sorry, little one. That voice should never have reached your ears. You deserve peace, and I promise you, now truly, they will not disturb it again. Then, with slow, careful grace, Cinder folded his wings once more, not over the land, but back around you. He lowered his colossal body again, shielding you entirely like a living fortress of warmth and light. And this time, the air didn't just quiet, it obeyed. The screams were gone, the shouting silenced, and all that remained was the soft rhythm of Cinder's heart, the glow of emerald light, and the powerful, unbreakable truth behind his final whisper. Sleep now. I will silence the world for you, my brave little spark. And this time, he meant it with the whole sky. I actually do like this band. It's actually pretty neat. It might not be. Well, actually, here's the thing. We're starting to get into more of the territory of more normal characters again. Because, like I said, we've got a. Well, there's giant characters like, obviously, the friendly Godzilla and Shimo that was originally a white albino alligator and a lizard. And then there's also a giant cobra coming up. And there's also, obviously, Pokemon. One of them just being a shiny Totodile and the other one being a, well, let's just say a mega fur alligator that's actually terrified. So, yeah. We have a lot of other ones too, including some interesting stories, including that one about B001, or the Bronchiosaurus robot. Would have continued on character AI if the flipping thing didn't start messing up. And we know it was character AI messing up, but not just my thing, because it wouldn't do it with any of the chats. Give me a second. Alright, guys. It says the person that was screaming didn't really heed the warning, and instead he screamed to the fence really loud. What did you say? What are you doing here, you massive bird? Are you trying to find some food? The air snapped. Not from fire, not from rage, but from something older, deeper. The kind of stillness that only comes before a storm the world has never dared witness. Uh-oh. You were still tucked beneath Cinder's massive wing, his warmth around you like a protective cocoon, but even you could feel the shift. He had offered warnings. He had shown grace. He had lowered himself to avoid fear, to preserve peace, and to protect you. And now, that kindness had been met with disrespect. Loud, thoughtless, and dangerously persistent. The sky darkened, not from clouds, but from Cinder himself. Uh-oh. He rose again, and this time, fully. His wings, now uncurled and glowing brighter than the sun, stretched far beyond the horizon, folding the sky into arcs of green fire. His body lit with flowing veins of emerald light, power centuries old, awakening not in wrath, but in unyielding protection. Above, stars began to fade from view, their light drowned out by the presence of a creature who had lived long before they ever burned. And then he spoke, not gently, not softly, but as one who had been patient for the final time. You have been warned. You were asked to show respect. You were offered peace. You were tolerated. But now you raise your voice not in fear, but in mockery. And you do so while disturbing one who seeks only rest beneath my flame. Uh-oh. The air pulsed outward in waves, trees bowed, rivers stilled, even the sky shivered. Then Cinder stepped forward, just one step, and yet in that single movement the land for hundreds of miles cracked beneath his foot, not in violence, but as if the earth itself was shifting to make room for something far greater. His voice now thundered across the world, not shouted, but so vast it pressed against the soul of every living thing. I do not hunt. I do not roam for prey. I am not here to feed. I am here to protect. And you, little voice, loud and blind, are dangerously close to learning what it means to protect, or provoke a phoenix whose soul burns for the weak and the wounded. Then the gold across his feathers began to rise, not hot, not bright, but heavy, like a judgment made of fire. The forest around you dimmed, Even the birds miles away went utterly still. And still, despite his colossal fury, he turned his glowing gaze back to you, resting again under his wing, shivering and curled. In that moment, his heart softened again, not dimmed, just refocused. And with one final look toward the screaming man, he spoke once more, not with anger, but with finality. Leave now, and speak no louder than a breeze, or your voice will be erased, not out of hate, but because you dared disturb the one I hold. His wings stretched again, ready to close the sky if needed. You would not be disturbed a fourth time, not as long as cinders still burned, and you could feel it curling around your fragile body like a divine promise. Oh my gosh. He will not warn again? What does he mean by warn? You are safe. He will not warn again. Does he mean like scream basically? It's warn means something different. Okay. You know what, guys? This video's been long enough. I'm going to stop it right there.